Honorable members, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 451, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, since I'm on my feet, allow me to personally extend birthday wishes to the honorable member, and I wish you God's richest blessings for long life and prosperity. Mr. Chair, before we seek to examine the estimates before us, there are a few observations that I have made between the estimate and that of the budget speech. The budget speech speaks to 3 billion being appropriated for the Ministry of Housing proper and 2.8 billion for the water sector, giving us a total of 5.8 billion Guyana dollars. But when I went to the actual expenditure for both sectors, I realized that we have in excess of 7.5 billion Guyana dollars. My question to the Honorable Minister is whether he can explain the difference or the shortfall of 1.3 billion, I think it is, from the estimates.
Honorable Minister, I know it's not the particular line item, but I think it's fair for clarification because
No, I stand so that I can the appropriation bill will have the total on the two ministries. That's it. That's one. That's it. This copy, Mr. Chairman, doesn't have the ministry.
my fault. Can you remedy that?
Okay.
No, I can explain it, but let me just get there's a total on the appropriation bill. Yes, Mr. Chairman. Under housing and water, you will have the current 1.3, and on the capital, you have $2.5 billion.
Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Yes, Mr. Chair, to the honorable member, I'm quite aware that under the current, you will have 1.3 billion, which is If you're to do the disaggregation, housing would get, I think, 700 million, and water is 600 million, which would give you the total sum of 1.3 billion. But you have not answered my question. The question that I asked is that the budget speech speaks to 3 billion for housing, 2.8 billion for water. And this is, I guess, when I check the capital expenditure, the total sum would give me 7.5 billion and change, right? So 7.5 billion minus the 5.8 billion would give you a difference of 1.7 billion thereabout. So the question that I'm seeking clarity on is where in the estimate can I find the 1.7 billion?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's there is no reference to 7.8. There's a reference to close to 3.8 under the housing program on the appropriation.
Honorable Member.
Okay, perhaps we're having some difficulties this morning with figures, Mr. Chair. So
Mr. Chairman, if I may respond.
I will not seek to waste much time. Perhaps we will, try to find that out otherwise. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, if I can turn our attention to pages 318 and 319 respectively, and I would seek to consolidate these line items. 6.1 on page 319. I note that for 2020, we have 18 staff. Can the honorable member explain to the House whether the 18 staff were employed post-August 2020? One. Two, whether, what are the positions? Three, their emoluments. And fourthly, where are these persons assigned, and what process of employment was used for the hiring of these 18 staff?
Before you take the floor, Honorable Minister, honorable members, we're all good wordsmiths in the House, and I'm sure that when we make these preambles, it wouldn't escape those responding to amplify their response. And so I've been allowing the latitude. It says that the standing order speaks to the issue of asking questions, and you can discuss also the policy with respect to the allocation. But if members would insist on making the comments they make, I will have to allow all sides some latitude, and we might be here till early tomorrow morning. Honorable Minister, go ahead, sir. I think you heard what was said earlier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, all 18 employees have been employed pre-August, and they are part of the splitting with the Ministry of Communities. So these staff are all currently under the Ministry of Communities, and they are becoming over under the Ministry of Housing and Water. And they are an accountant, one auditor, the expenditure planning and management analyst, a planning officer. You want to know the salary too? Okay, sure. An accountant at 133,000, an auditor at 160,000, an expenditure planning and management analyst at 144,000, a planning officer at 103,000, two clerks 3 at 80,153 and 74,798 respectively, two accounts clerk 3 at 100,000, 78,000, and two office assistants, 70,000 and 77,000. I'm just rounding it off. I can go exactly to it. Driver 70,000, cleaner 77,000, a permanent secretary 742,000, admin assistant 119,000, two drivers 99,000 and 70,000 respectively, security officer 90,000, and those will take care of the 18 employees.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Devin Sears.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And just want to use this opportunity really quick to also extend further wishes to the Honorable Minister. Line item 4242 talks about 6242, sorry, maintenance of building. I would like to know if any of this allocation, the 5.4 million, will go to regional offices, and which or what are those regional offices?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are all on admin. These costs will be at the Brick Dam and the Camp Street location.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member,
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Sears.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Line item 6261, 6261. It talks about local travel and subsistence. Can the Honorable Minister state out of the $2.5 million, where in the interior location might the outreach or travel be?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, the expense is not specific to any one region, and these are part of aiding in the admin staff to do their work effectively, inclusive of travel.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Sears. Honorable Member, Madam
Thank you
Ferguson.
very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I turn our attention to line item 6294 order. I see an appropriation sum of $10 million. Can the Honorable Minister explain what 6284, what order entails?
Honorable Minister.
This expense includes the for advertisements as well. Well, there's a WASH program, that is the Wash Sanitation and Hygiene program that previously fell under the Ministry of Communities. There is a $5 million allocation there, and that is for public awareness and sensitization on sanitization and hygiene. There are other allocations that include advertisements in relation for the ministry, notices, markings, work study attachments.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Member, if I can quickly take you back to line item 6242, maintenance of buildings. You said the Brigham office and Camp Street office. Can you identify which office is at Camp Street?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the former minister would very well be aware, there are staff at the under the Ministry of Communities at Camp Street. And so the admin staff that I mentioned, most of the admin staff that I called out in the prior question, they are currently housed there. So that is what it is. And in terms of the breakdown office, that is to do the electrical work and plumbing at the ministry proper.
Honorable Member, Mr. Sears.
With regards to line item 6302, which addresses training, including scholarships, I'd like to ask the Honorable Minister just to give us an idea as to what those training programs are and which departments likely it will benefit.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These are for in terms like procurement, for staff development, and we would realize that we now are under the Ministry of Housing and Water proper. So there are some internal training that we would like to have.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Members. This is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Policy Development, Program 451, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we turn to page 667, capital expenditure? And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 451, Policy Development and Administration, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimate. Honorable members, this is a good time to put the Honorable Member Mr. Sears.
Sorry. With regards to project code 2507000, furniture and equipment, it talks about purchase of furniture and equipment. I would like to know out of this allocation, what offices these furniture are going to be designated to, and what likely will be the time frame for this project to be completed before we start.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, these equipment, furniture is for the central ministry. Um, we will be having a new permanent secretary, and because of the split, and so it caters for that office as well for the admin staff. And the procurement is these are all routine procurement, so they won't take longer than a month.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 451, Policy Development and Administration, capital expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimate. Honorable members, can we turn to pages 320 and 321? And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water Program 452, Housing Development and Management, current expenditure, forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if I can turn the honorable member attention to staffing details. I note for 2020, we intend to hire perhaps 3 staff. So can you explain the positions, their emoluments, and where are they assigned? And if these persons were hired post August 2020.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, there are no new staff that is catered or mentioned here in terms of that. And so these were all staff under the Ministry of Communities, and as part of the split, they're coming over to Housing and Water. We're talking about 2 architects at an emolument of $226,037, and a typist clerk for $74,706.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, line item 6294, other. I note we have an appropriation sum of $10 million. Can the honorable member explain what entails other? 6284, sorry, 6284.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 62284 caters primarily for a launching and the preparatory work for a building expo to be held in the first quarter of 2020.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, line item 6321, subsidies and contributions to local organizations. I know on page 9597, I know this sum will be going to Central Housing and Planning Authority for 700 million. Can the honorable member detail for the House what this sum will be utilized for?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, the 700,000 firstly, 700 million is the subsidy that is finally being returned to the Central Housing and Planning Authority, for which was stopped in 2015. And the 700,000 breakdown includes the salaries for $531 million, other direct labor costs for $42 million, benefits and allowances $40 million, materials, equipment, and supplies $35,200,000, fuel and lubricants $27,500,000.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on that very line item, even though the Honorable Minister made mention that there was a cessation to the subsidies, at least the Central Housing and Planning Authority was able to survive for 5 years under the coalition government. Salaries were paid amongst every other thing. And two, we know that Central Housing and Planning Authority is a semi-autonomous agency that generates its own income. Mr. Chair, can the honorable member explain the number of staff who are expected to benefit from the $700 million? Perhaps you can provide the first 5, their designation, and their emoluments,
Honorable
amongst
Minister.
other things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, may I advise the former minister that the day is going very nice. Please, I do not want to appropriately respond because the Central Housing Planet Authority had $8 billion in 2015, and at August 2020, it was left with 3.6 billion. So please don't let's go down that road. I can appropriately respond. Now, staffing. There are different categories for the staffing, and we're talking about 250. And may I? Yes, 250. And there are various categories. Let's go. Administrative, and probably I'll give you the 2 top highest on each. There's a Director of Operations, $722,000 per month. Director of Finance, $580,000. Senior Technical, the category. Head of Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, $624,000. Director of Community Development, $530,000. Other Technical and Craft Skill, the Executive Assistant, $314,000. Legal and Conveyance Officer, $288,000. Clerical and Office Support, Senior Community Development Facilitator, $217,000. Community Development Officer 3, $179,000. Semi-skilled operative and unskilled. Excavator operator, $214,000. 2 excavator operators, that is. The other one is at $188,000. Contracted employees, Chief Executive Officer, $794,000. Deputy Director of Projects, $580,000. Temporary employees, $167,240 for Procurement Officer. and clerk of works $162,750.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I just want to make it clear to this honorable House and perhaps to those viewing in Nationland that even though the former government as the PPP would have left 8 billion, some of those monies were used to ensure that housing units were constructed for the ordinary Guyanese citizen. So, Mr. Chair, I think that is it for me on this particular um,
It is only fair
program.
that I ask the Honorable Minister if he wants to respond. So if we want to make statements rather than ask questions, I will be fair to both sides. Minister?
Mr. Chairman, I hope the former minister is not referring to the houses that we are talking about at the experiment, for which persons cannot even afford to buy. I hope the honorable minister is not talking about some of the houses for which we have to do repairs at Perseverance. And so I'm begging her, please don't go down that road because it wouldn't be a nice road.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Members. I now put a question that
Mr.
the
Chair,
sum stated. You have a question, Honorable Madam
yes,
Ferguson? Go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I
But
have
I
a
wouldn't allow a
statement.
statement.
Pardon?
Please, I wouldn't allow a statement. Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 452, Housing Development and Management, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimate. Honorable members, can we turn to Agency 45? And I put the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 452, Housing Development and Management, capital expenditure, stands part of the estimate. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipol.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I did tell you before that you need to consider fumigation to this honorable house. A lot of speaking is going on.
Is that included in that line item? I
Project
think we
code,
passed
sir.
Parliament already.
Project code 1903100 in structural development and buildings, sum of 720,650,000 dollars, and I see that there is a rollover of $176 million. From the legend, sir, it tells us that the description of this project is the provision for electrical hardware, LED street lights, and recreational facilities. I am aware, sir, that there were some street lights on the main road that is leading into the Parfait Harmony scheme, and unfortunately they were removed. So my question is, one, would this consideration be for LED street lights to the people of Parfait Harmony? And secondly, there is the upgrading of roads in Prospect, Providence, Little Diamond, Great Diamond, Parfait Harmony, Horstelling, Eccles, and Zealot. Parfait Harmony and Zealot are large schemes. Zealot, sir, has 3 phases, so I will appreciate if the Honorable Minister can say which phase we will be dealing with in this allocation, and the same for Parfait Harmony, which area we will be dealing with, the length of roads, and if I can have a comparison between Zealot and Parfait Harmony in terms of the amount of allocation for each area. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, and thanks for the representation for Eccles. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, maybe I can start with giving a summary of what the total expense is for, and then we can go into some of the specifics. Rollover projects, $176 million. Rollover projects from the previous administration, that is. Development of existing housing schemes, $300 million. For space infrastructure for new housing development, that would be like land preparation, construction of access roads. There's only to commence. The allocation there is $292 million. Installation of lights, $49,200,000. Boreholes, 2 wells in CHPA housing areas, that is at Luston Rust and Prospect, $80 million. Procurement of electrical hardware materials to provide electricity in a number of areas, and I can willingly go through them. Land acquisition, oh sorry, that was $200 million. Land acquisition, $622,500,000. And that's a summary of how the $1.7 billion will be spent. In case, let's go to the specifics. Installation of LED lights, Region 3, Bell West, Phase 2, Zealot, iPlot, Phase 1. Zealot, Phase 1 and 2, iPlot. Let me give you all. Farm, Phase 1, Covent Garden, Good Hope, Herstelling, plots A, B, C, Providence, Phase 2, Providence, Phase 3, Peters Hall, Phase 1, Section D, Nonpareil, Experiment, West Coast, Berbice, Kilcoy, Chesney, Tapachinga, Lethem, Amelia's Ward, Linden, Wisrock, Phase 1B, Linden. All right, that's lights. Let's go to roads. Or let me give you the road. Or let me go to the roads. I'll give you a rollover just. Let's go. Don't worry, I have time. Development of the housing areas, the existing housing areas. We're doing upgrading of roads, the main access road for Prospect and Perseverance. We're doing upgrading of the main access road for industrial and commercial purpose at Little and Great Diamond. Upgrading of roads to asphaltic concrete at Parfait Harmony. If time permits, I'll show you the map. We have them all here. Walk to the office. Upgrading of roads at Horstellin and Eccles. Upgrading of roads to asphaltic concrete at Zila. Let's go to the other road works. For space development for new infrastructure works. Land preparation, as I said, construction of access road and bridges. Block A1 being part of Plantation Annandale. Rech Dorzi, West Bank Demerara. Commerce Lodge Parcel 1768, Commerce Lodge Parcel 1767, Industry 409. Plantation Prospect, remaining areas. Track NX and NY-LBI. Block A1, part of Vigilance. Block B1, as portion of Plantation Bladen Hall. Block B1, portion of Plantation Strathspey. Great Diamond, Little Diamond. Block WW, Monrepo. Parcel 115, Providence. Area C, that's lot number 16, or we call Experiment. Number 79, Skeldon, Estate Backland. Williamsburg, Hampshire, Ordnance Fortlands, Phase 2 and 3. Lethem, at Kwakwani, Amelia's Ward, Wisrock, Linden. Do you require any more information?
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and let me thank the Honorable Minister for being so kind to provide the information with no political rhetoric. Like the same follow-up I take note of the provision for land preparation for the construction of roads and bridges. May I please ask the Honorable Minister if the bridges that will be constructed, are they reinforced concrete bridges or are they timber bridges?
Honorable Minister.
Heavy duty reinforced concrete bridges.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Annette Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, if we on the same uh, project code number, and if we to look at the reference number 240 in volume 3. Number 3, provision for land preparation and construction of roads and bridges in Reg Dorsey, Annandale, Cummins Lodge, Prospect, Little Diamond, Great Diamond, Providence, Lethem, and Amelia's Ward. Can the honorable member explain to us where exactly in Lethem, would the land preparation be developed?
Honorable Minister.
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, the allocation for Lethem, Pukwani, Amelius Ward, and Wizrock would be for survey works and the land preparation that for new lands that we're about to receive upon the payment of the transfers money.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Ferguson, just hold a
Thank you
second,
very
please.
much,
Just hold
Mr.
a
Chair.
minute for me.
Mr.
Honorable
Chair.
members, I just want to bring your attention to the issue of items that are in the courts. And so, please, be mindful of the standing order with respect to our comments here and matters that are sub judice. Honorable Member, Madam Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on the very project code, 1903-100 infrastructural development and building. And if we go to the profile volume, page 240, on the same number 3 item, can the honorable member explain to the House whether the survey works have commenced in the Amelia's Ward area?
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, no, I did say to commence.
Thank you. Honorable Member, Mr. Cox. You, Honorable Member, Madam Tabitha Sarabo Hali. His microphone was on 5 minutes ago.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just clarity on the same line item. Um, the planned duration, as I see for this, is from October 1st to December 20th this year. And all that has been highlighted, I'm just wondering whether the procurement process and the building and the construction of roads and bridges will happen and be completed in the next 3 months. All of this money will be utilized for all of these different areas.
Thank you. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the answer is yes, and we're ahead of the game. We've already started bidding for.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. I thought you'd abandon the question, Honorable Member Mr. Cox. Honorable members, we do make copious notes with respect to the lineup. And so I take umbrage to the fact that you call an honorable member and they are seating. I don't know honorable members has the powers of chair here. So honorable member Mr. Cox.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Happy birthday, Mr. Cole. Mr. Chair, to the Honorable Minister. I noticed there are limited provisions for hinterland under the same program, for hinterland development under this program. I'm particularly interested in the two housing developments in Mabruma, that is at Cans Hill and at Kubu Hill, I think. Are there any provisions for those housing developments? I'm aware that there are many persons awaiting approval for house lots. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An issue that both of us are very much familiar with. There is a contentious issue in terms of the Can Hill area, and the housing development drive for Mabruma is expected to take off on the 2021 budgetary period.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahi Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, it may have slipped me to wish the Honorable Minister a happy birthday, so I take the opportunity.
And you want to know which item the birthday expenses will come from?
So it's under project code 1903900. May I ask the Honorable Minister what percentage of work has completed thus far, and could he give a status update on this same project code?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this program, the Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program, intended for 5 years, which commenced in December 2017, a 27 million US dollar program. For 3 years, only $5 million have been expended. And so it is intended that we in the ministry will complete this program. We actually will reformulate the loan and to ensure that it's in keeping with our guidelines that we would like to provide the necessary adequate housing, and we will complete the remaining expenditure within the 2 years time.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahi Paul.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I did hear the Honorable Member saying that this project started in 2017, but I'm looking at volume 3 of these estimates on reference 241, and the planned duration here is from January 1st, 2019 to the 31st of December 2023. Could the Honorable Minister be kind enough to verify if indeed his 2017 is accurate, or is it 2019 as guided from this document, volume 3 of the estimate?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The document I have in front of me says that the loan was signed in December.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Anna Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on that same project code number 1903900, Adequate Housing and Urban Accessibility Program. I heard the Honorable Minister referred to the position that it's more than likely that this project will be reformed. Have I heard you correct? Pardon?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we are looking at reformulating the loan in terms of beneficiaries and so forth. And we're currently engaging the Inter-American Development Bank, and we will have, I'm very much familiar with the intended target audience for the project in terms of the areas identified, and we will complete this exercise within the year.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam
Yeah,
Ferguson.
thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, on this very line item, I know it is a 25.8 million US loan that the government of Guyana was able to get from IDB through the reformulation of the Sheriff Mandela project. of which some portion of that money was shared between Ministry of Public Infrastructure, then as it was, and the Central Housing and Planning Authority. I know for a fact that some aspect of the work commenced in, in 2019 after the loan was finalized in 2018. And I know that the staff at Central Housing and Planning Authority had started some work in the field to ensure that beneficiaries who are to benefit from this particular project are the ones who will benefit. So I know the project is from LBI to Sophia, and also some work to be done in Westminster there in perfect harmony. My simple question to the honorable member is whether the work that the former government started, whether your government will continue with the work, and those persons who would have already applied for this particular project, the core home and the home improvement, whether they will benefit, because I know tremendous work was put into ensuring that the beneficiaries are identified. And if you're saying that, well, look, you're going to reform the project, I'm trusting, oh God, that those persons will not be neglected.
Honorable Minister.
Mr. Chairman, after all that long preamble, I will give three lines answer. I did state that there are $5 million that have been expended to date, and in fact, there's an allocation for 150 million on the specific, which would be the foreign inflows. So it recognizes, therefore, or it indicates that we are completing whatever is there in the program. What I'm referring to, but there are some aspects of the projects that have not been completed as yet. I'm referring to those, not on the existing works that is ongoing.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Madam Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, thank you to the honorable member for the explanation. But I know the 5+ million that was expended was basically to do works in the Sophia area, upgrading roads and also the upgrade of playgrounds.
Honorable members, again,
Legal Minister.
I caution with respect to the standing orders and asking questions. The last observation wasn't a question. I would say it was a speech after the minister had done his response. And if we continue like this, I guarantee you, tomorrow will reach us here. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 452, Housing Development and Management, capital expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, we turn our attention to pages 322 and 323, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 453, Water Service Expansion and Management, current expenditure, stands part of the estimate. The Honorable Member, Madam Ferguson. No. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Line item 6321, subsidies and contributions to local organizations, 600 million. And I am guided in the same volume that this will be going to the Guyana Water Incorporated. I am aware, sir, that under the previous administration, there was a number of villages, indigenous communities that received potable water. And I happen to have visited some like Kaikombe, Haiwa, Mokomoko, and the likes. My question to the Honorable Minister, is there consideration in this $600 million for that project to continue, where GWI will be providing water services to indigenous communities? And secondly, is there any consideration for water treatment plants in Region 3? For example, I know APNU did one in Iflot. Is there any other that will be done in Region 3?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the honorable member started out with 6321, which is subsidies and contributions to local organizations, which in this case would be GWI. So when we get to the capital work, you can ask some of the hinterland questions. The contribution for this is towards electricity charges, as well as some operational costs for the hinterland staff, hinterland operations. Mr. Chairman, since I'm on my feet, in terms of electricity charges, since 2018, GWI has not received, did not receive subvention or contribution from central government for electricity. So this is recommenced that aspect.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Devin Sears.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. With reference to staffing detail, line item 6111, 6112, and 6117, we received staff complement of 4 for 2020. The question I want to ask the Minister, post August 2020, were any of these employments made? And if you can just state the highest and the lowest paid employer.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The answer will be the same as in the two previous programs. There is no new staff catered here. This is all part of the split. And one communication sanitation officer at a salary of $142,819. Two engineers, one senior engineer at $276,606. One junior in one water sanitation engineer at $224,000, and an admin assistant for $90,277.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Sears.
Yeah, it's working. On the line item 6284, other, you see allocation here of $2 million. Can you please give us the details?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 6284 caters for um, advertisement, procurement notices, airing of programs, television programs, and so forth, because this is the water aspect. This is the water program to be with water.
Honorable Member, Mr. Figueroa.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Um, Line item 6291, National and Other Events. The Honorable Minister indicate what this $200,000 will be used for.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 6291 is for recognition of a different culture and recognition of any national events that you have. And hence you will have Diwali, you have the Christmas season coming up. And so this is the allocation for that, so in terms of having programs as well as for benefits.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Any follow-up then? Thank you very much. Honorable members, I now
Mr.
put
Chair.
the question. Honorable Madam Ferguson, I thought I'd recognize you like about four, then I had to call Mr. Mahikola. Go ahead.
Okay.
And then I will just read the standing order 38-2. Go ahead, Honorable
Sure.
Member, Madam Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I turn our attention to the budget speech, page 8 of 85, measures to support our senior citizens.
Mr. Speaker, effective 1st January 1st, 2021, old age pension will increase from 20,500 to 25,000, allowing 4.4 billion on annualized basis to be injected into the disposable income of our senior citizens. Pensioners will also benefit from free water service, which will also improve their disposable income. Can the Honorable Mr. Speaker, I am aware that pensioners, 15.5 million per month, which is only 126 million annually. So, Mr. Speaker, the question to the honorable member, you need to explain to us how they arrived at the $4.4 billion that will be injected into the
Honorable
disposable
member,
income
I just
of
want you to
our.
point me first to the line item.
Well, no, I'm coming to that, Mr. Speaker. I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like for the honorable member to say to us, where in Budget 2020, where in Budget 2020, we, these monies will be injected back into the disposable income of the elderly.
So, honorable members, once again,
Whether it will come under
honorable
6321
members,
or wherever.
once again, we see a number of discourtesies to the chair. The honorable member concluded. I was now summing up to put the question to the minister, and she continued to speak as I took the floor. Now, if I shut off the microphone, I'll be labeled as being unfair. Honorable members, again, the Honorable Birthday Minister has had a really pleasant birthday so far, and the House has been exemplary so far in its observation of the standing orders. Honorable Minister, would you like to make a comment on that comment?
Mr. Chairman, my first comment is that the former minister should relieve herself. That she's remember that she's no longer minister, so she has to remove some of that zeal. The value. Let me give some information, Mr. Chairman. The value for our pensioner, the equating of the value for our pensioners who will not be paying for any water is to the tune of 227 million.
Honorable
And this,
Minister, as a pensioner soon to be, benefiting from this, you just said who will not be paying. Is this a subsidy or are we getting exempted?
so these pensioners will be exempted and from paying the VAT. Well, there are two categories, Mr. Chairman. There's a complete removal of VAT for everyone, and there is the non-payment for by pensioners. The figure I gave, 227 million, is the value for which GWI will be losing as a result of the measures being taken by the People's Progressive Party civic government to ensure that we take care of our elderly. Hence, our 100% subsidy.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put a question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 453, Water Service Expansion and Management, current expenditure, stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we move to page 667? And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 453, Water Service Expansion and Management, capital expenditure, now forms part of the estimate. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. project code 1601800. I'm guided, and I see a total sum there of $30 million. I'm guided by the legend that tells me that there will be improved water supply services in areas such as Legwan and Wakenham. Sir, I am also aware that $69 million was spent by the People's Progressive Party to drill a well in Sanssouci, Wakenham, and to date it cannot be operationalized. Can the Honorable Minister indicate if this sum for Wakenham, like one and the other areas, if it will be to upgrade the existing wells, like we have one at Queonese and Nikodak and the likes, and if not, if it is for the construction of new wells, and if a feasibility study was done to ascertain the area in which this well will be dug. And I'm specific here, sir, to Legwan and Wakenham. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll approach the question in two ways. One, the $30 million is a CDB funded project, and the activities are consultancy service for the preparation of a detailed design for water supply improvement works, and that is to look at the Hope Canal as a sustainable potable water source. Two, consultancy services for strengthening the governance in water sector. That's across. The second part of your question that deals with Wakenham, the unleg one, that is currently being done in-house by the Guyana Water Inc. on this year's program, and they are currently addressing the issue and the challenges we're having there, and we expect within a month that or under a month, it's rectified.
Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you, sir. A follow-up. So am I to interpret correctly, I could be wrong and I'm subject to correction, am I to interpret correctly that the $30 million, no part of it is focusing on Wakenham and Legwan?
Honorable Minister.
The study, Mr. Chairman, through you, the governance, the study will include Wakenham and Legwan as part of the complete study.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Figuera. Thank you very much. Honorable Member Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you very much, sir. I did ask, rather than to go through it again, the same question for line item 28021100, the hinterland water supply. I'm interested in knowing the areas in which is being considered for the water supply improvement in the hinterland. And if the Honorable Minister can say, Mr. Chair, out of this 130 million were monies already utilized for hinterland water supply, and if so, which communities benefited? And the monies to be used, which are the communities that will be benefited?
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The hinterland water supply, there are a number of activities. First, we have for the installation, and I'll come to the complete answer to your second part of the question. So the installation of the mains and the new service for new services in Port Kaituma. So this is to benefit for those residents who are living between 1 to 4 miles, and this is new installation. An allocation of $20 million is made available there. The well while we're buying the pipe fittings, the well will be dug sometime in the new month through a rig that has already been secured under TWI. Second activity, expansion works at the Mabruma Spring. Currently, they receive 3 hours 3 times a week. We're looking to increase this to a minimum of 8 hours supply daily, and that is between, for my friend from Mabruma, it will be 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. daily. And expansion of works at the Barabina Spring. This requires that we are looking to improve the water supply for the residents there to a minimum of 8 hours. We expected to do this work within 2 months. Expansion works at Wanina Spring. Again, this is expected to increase a minimum of 4 hours supply for 5 times a week. Um, Rehabilitation of the storage tank, which everybody when they travel to Mabum are familiar with. That tank, unfortunately, has been repaired. In my record, when I look, I see about 2 or 3 times previously by GWI. So what will be done is that we will repair this trestle and we'll be placing a number of tanks, 6 new plastic tanks to provide storage for an average of 40 cubic meters. And this will now service the hospital and the Northwest Secondary School on a continuous supply. Upgrade of distribution networks in the settlement area. There are about 400 persons to improve water for a minimum of 12 hours daily in an area, especially in the area that's called Jungle. Santa Rosa, we're looking to improve the water supply there in Santa Rosa. So there are a number of in the Santa Rosa network that will be expanding. These areas include 1 Mile, Rincon, and Santa Rosa Islands. That's when you cross the bridge. And also to commence this, those are completion that we expected by the end of this year. And to commence distribution network in Mora from the current Santa Rosa well network. And we're also looking to increase the pumping hours in Santa Rosa to a minimum of 12 hours daily. Part of the hinterland program will also see the procurement of a number of photovoltaic systems. This is for the in-house drilling and for distribution networks at Chulinab, Shia, as Mabruma, and Cheermouth. Purchase of ATVs for a number of our sub-regions, and these include Paramakatoy, Madhya, Santa Rosa, and Matthews Ridge for the Matakai N. Installation of a distribution network at Chulinab. There's already a BNTF or Basic Need Trust Fund project, Mr. Chairman, for the drilling of a well. So there's already for the procurement of the material, sorry. What this hinterland program will be doing will be drilling a well at Chulinab. Installation of distribution network at Shia, drilling of a new well also there. The well that they have in Shia currently is collapsed. Cheermouth, an allocation is made there for the drilling of a new well, and installation of mains and service connections and other fittings. And that will complete the hinterland program for this year. Hence, the money that is stated there for 130 million, it's all new.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Mahipal, is this a follow-up?
Sir, a new line, a new project.
Well, let's take the Honorable Member, Madam Annette Ferguson. She's been waiting quite some time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, project code 280-2100, hinterland water supply. Can the Honorable Member explain, because I don't see it in project 2020, whether your administration would have abandoned the project for the Hotororo Falls? I know some work would have commenced during the coalition government.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I did allude under the CDB funded program of studies, and that supply, the source, will be part of the studies to ensure that we have adequate information before we make the level of investment that is required.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Mr. Mahipal.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Project code 2802200. Coastal water supply. The legend guides us that it includes drilling of well at Iflot. I will appreciate if the Honorable Minister can indicate which part of Iflot And could the Honourable Minister say why is there a need for a well at Iflot? The completion of wells at Borginogen, Portdoyne and Westminster, I'm grateful to note that, region number 3. Provision of hydrants in East, not that one. Number 4, provision for smart meters and bulk flow meters for La Parfait Harmony uh, and the other areas. Sir, I know that La Parfait Harmony is a big scheme that is awaiting to be handed over to the NDC, and similarly Tushin and Zealot. Tushin new scheme and Zealot new scheme. Tushin has 2 phases and Zealot has 3 phases. Sir, Tushin and Zealot are older schemes than La Parfait Harmony. My question to the Honourable Minister, is there any consideration for smart meters and bulk flow meters for Tushin and Zealot schemes like how they are considering La Parfait Harmony? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the allocation for the well at IFLOT, for which the honorable member is aware that there is a new well that is put there. The allocation is to complete the payment, and that includes a variation of $20,750,000 and the retention of $7,153,000. The other activities that is with the completion of the well at Bordinugen. These, of course, this is a rollover project, and so it's to complete. There's a variation of $28 million and a retention of $22 million. The question that was asked about the smart water meters, we will, of course, but that will be on the 2021 and moving forward. What we've sought to do here is to ensure that activities that we state here, for which we can start in this year, or complete.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Mr. Matthew.
Sir, a follow-up. If I'm hearing the Honourable Minister correctly, smart meters and bulk flow meters will be put in at La Parfait Harmony first, before Tushin and Zealot new scheme, notwithstanding Tushin and Zealot being older schemes than La Parfait Harmony.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, this allocation is for the procurement of smart water meters and for bulk flow meters at La Parfait Harmony, Bon Repos, that's in the Bon Repos BV area, and Friendship Providential.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put Honorable Member Mr. Devin Sears.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. With reference to project code 2802700, Water Supply and Infrastructure Improvement Program, I would like to pose a question to the Minister. Under this project, it is expected that we have installation of distribution and transmission networks. Can you state if this applies to Region 10? If Region 10 is included under this?
Honorable Minister.
The simple answer, Mr. Chairman, is no. 3, 4, and 6.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Mr. Maipol.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. A follow-up on the same project code. I see construction of water treatment plants at Cornelia Ida to Dikendren. I'm very happy about that. I'm assuming that we're talking about the same water treatment plant that is at Iflot there, that distributes water from Cornelia Ida to Dikendren. I may be wrong, so I'm seeking some guidance. Is there a difference between the one before that we were talking about, the drilling of a well at Iflot, and this water treatment plant that is stationed in Iflot distributing water at Cornelia Ida to Dikendren? I'm seeking some clarity on that, sir.
Honorable Minister. I again hear on parliamentary language in the House. I don't want to name anyone. Honorable Minister, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The well is placed next to the water treatment plant. As simple as that. And those areas that you've identified and you've called, that is part of the distribution network.
Thank you very
Yes.
much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 45, Ministry of Housing and Water, Program 453 Water Service Expansion and Management Capital Expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now stands part of the estimates. This concludes our consideration of this particular agency. I want to thank the Minister and his staff, and I want to thank the honorable members for giving him an extra 15 birthday minutes. Thank you very much. Honorable members, can we now turn to Agency 43, the Ministry of Public Health? We are waiting for the Honorable Minister of Health and his team to settle. We are about to consider the estimates for Agency 43. Honorable members, I propose the question. Honorable members, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 431, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Dr. Karen Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Line item 6114, clerical and office support. I noticed there is a steep increase of about 29 staff members there, and there is more or less the same allocation, 85 million. So please indicate to this committee the designation and the remuneration of the top 5 and the bottom 3 staff members.
Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the question. Indeed, there has been an increase in 29 new staff in this area, and those persons include bond clerk, 3 bond clerks, 5 clerk 2, 1 office assistant, 2 typist clerk, 2 data entry clerk, 10 stores attendant, 2 handymen, accounts clerk, a receptionist, and 1 accounts clerk 2. The salary range is between 70 for these categories of persons, between 70,000 for the bond clerks and 73,000 for the clerk 2.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Line item 6221, drugs and medical supplies, 6221. Could the Honorable Minister lay over the items that will be purchased under this line item? remaining to be spent. I think it's up to 3 months for this new year. Um, so the Honorable Minister also suggests to us um, the list of importers of the drugs. We want to know if they're in sync with food and drug. Sometimes we have a little problems with the food and drug and so forth. So we ask them if there's any importers of the drug not complying with our food and drug standards. So I'm asking two questions to lay over the drugs and supplies to be bought on this line item, and if there's any problems with the importers and the food and drug, if the problem will has been solved.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question. 6221, the expenditure there is about 30 million, and these monies were spent on emergency purchases of PPEs, and I'm told we spent, or the ministry spent then, about $11 million on PPEs. And then you have 18 million worth of reagents. So these were reagents that were bought for various labs. We can lay over the examples of the reagents that were bought, and we could. Well, I'm not sure. The staff would be able to tell us whether they bought it locally or they imported it, but I am sure that they probably had to get those reagents imported. We would provide the list of the importers or the persons who had the contracts for delivery of those reagents and the types of reagents.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Dr. Cummings.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Line item 6321, subsidies and contributions to the local organizations. Mr. Chair, I've noticed even going to the next agency of 47 as well. It's repeated that most of the local organs are just the Cancer Society, the Chess Society. What has become of like the Diabetic Association, the Sickle Cell Association, Hemophilia, and these others? They're not, no subventions go to them on this line item. It's omitted. So are you not catering to these other smaller organizations, Diabetic Association, the Sickle Cell, as I mentioned before? And also those that are already getting subsidies, do you have reports that we can look at to lay over some of these reports from the Just Society or the Cancer Society? Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Honorable Member. As far as I'm aware, we have $18 million that was spent from January to September of 2020. And while the Honorable Member is asking about the Cancer Board, I don't think that is captured here. The organizations that would receive funding under this line item include the Central Board of Health, the Medical Termination of Pregnancy Board, the Guyana Red Cross, the St. John's Ambulance Brigade, the Guyana GRPA, and the Presidential Commission on Non-Communicable Diseases. Now, Mr. Chairman, as you are aware, we just came into government, and therefore we would have expected to see reports, because these organizations have been receiving these contributions for the last 5 years. I myself, Honorable Member, when I was sitting On the other side, if you go back to the Hansards, you would see that I've asked similar questions for such reports, but unfortunately, when I asked for those reports, I didn't get them, and I will definitely ask these organizations as a condition for getting the subvention to be able to get reports at the end of the year. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 431, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure stands part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The amount stated thus forms part of the estimates. If we can move to page 668, capital expenditure, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Agency 431, Policy Development and Administration, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable members, I put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 431, Policy Development and Administration, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated shall form part of the estimates. We turn to pages 332 and 323. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 432, Disease Control, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Dr. Karen Cummings.
Yes, Mr. Chair, 6222, field materials and supplies, with the Honorable Minister, give us some examples of some of the field materials and supplies we're talking about on this matter.
Honorable Minister, Field Materials and Supplies.
6222, field materials and supplies, medical supplies. Under this program, disease control.
Thank you again, Honorable Member. 6222, it was already expended $32.3 million, and of that, the things that were bought under this heading include face masks for the persons working at Fort Health. It also includes PPEs and other items that are required by the malaria program. We also bought cables for the TB program. You had labels for a printer and other accessories for the HIV STI programs. Another printer for the National Public Health Reference Lab, and $28.7 million went to the Health Emergency Operations Center.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Dr. Karen Cummings.
Line item 6292, dietary. I see there's a massive increase here where the rise of about $23 million. Could we say what the values for that?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you again, Chair. $29 million indeed was expended, of which we spent approximately 22.7 million for the quarantine and isolation facilities, the persons who are housed there. To When you have people in these facilities, you have to give them food. So 3 meals a day, and that amounted so far to $22.7 million. And we spent monies through the HIV program, $4.4 million for persons who would normally come in to the NAPS and be able to get some relief. This has been an ongoing program, and $2.3 million was spent by the TB program, again to provide relief for TB patients.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Dr. Karen
My
Cummings.
last question on this program. 6117, there is an increase of 94 persons in temporary employment. That is such a huge number on the temporary.
Honorable Minister.
Thanks again, Mr. Chair. Indeed, we had an increase of 96 temporary staff, and these include field assistants who are helping us with surveillance. We had relief cleaners, monitoring and evaluation officers, surveillance officers, psychologists, mental health counselors, receptionists, handymen, some senior inspectors. These body of people would comprise the 96 persons that accounted for the increase.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. This is a good time for us to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 432, Disease Control, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. Ayes have it. The sum stated shall form part of the estimates. We now turn to Agency 43, Capital, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 432, Disease Control, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Health, Program 432, Disease Control, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated shall form part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we turn to pages 334, 335? I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 433, Family Health Care Services, current expenditure forms part of the estimate. The Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Yes, Mr. Line item temporary again, employee. Is this family health care program? Were they partly it also involved in the COVID exercise? Why the increase? 20 extra persons to this. 20 extra persons to this line item.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These persons are mainly from the dental services. During the period, 11 dental aides were employed, 5 dental surgeons, 1 nutrition auxiliary officer, 1 medex, and 1 telephonist.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 433, Family Health Care Services, Current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated thus forms part of the estimates. Capital expenditure, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 433, Family Healthcare Services, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 433, Family Healthcare Services, capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated shall form part of the estimates. If you can turn to pages 336 and 337, I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 434, and Regional and Clinical Services, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Yes, Chair. To the Honorable Minister, 6221, drugs and medical supplies. We know you have been complaining of no drugs in the regions you can go. So I'm wondering if this number here, it remains the same for 2020. Would it be adequate to cover the different regions? Because we know they warranted the drugs to us. They have some amount, 40%, I think, emergency supplies. But this would it, in the light of COVID-19, would this number be adequate for have adequate the main and basic essential drugs? Looking into the formula.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member, for the question. In terms of drugs and medical supplies, what we have there is expenditure for uh, January to September, which was $289 million. And among the money that was expended, the ministry bought supplies, general supplies of medicine worth 121 million. And they also bought supplies for Linden Hospital, which was worth $39.7 million. And they bought medical gas for various hospitals, which cost $67.5 million. So this took care of this sum of money that is here. Then we're talking about the new procurement. When we come to the other section of the budget, which deals with October to December, you will see that there are allocations there to adequately take care of the purchase of drugs.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this looks like a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 434, Regional and Clinical Services, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum shall form part of the estimates. We can turn to capital expenditure, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Program 434, Regional and Clinical Services capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 434, Regional and Clinical Services capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum shall form part of the estimates. We can now turn to pages 338 and 339, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 435, Health Sciences Education, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Yeah, line item 6302. This is training. I'm wondering if there are
community of workers, or the category of persons being trained, the number of persons being trained, and 6302 training. 02 training. The category of persons being trained and if they were from the various regions.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. The categories of persons who we train under this heading includes community health workers, pharmacists, uh, environmental health assistant, dentex, medex, rehabilitation assistants, laboratory technicians, x-ray technicians, general nurses, public health nurses, and we do training in general administration as well.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time to put a question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 435, Health Sciences Education Current Expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum shall form part of the estimates. We turn to page 669, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 435, Health Sciences Education Capital Expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Honorable Member, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 435, Health Sciences Education Capital Expenditure, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated shall form part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we turn to pages 340 and 341? And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Program 436, Standards and Technical Services, current expenditure, form part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Line item 6113, technical and craft skill, there's an increase from 68 to 81. Could you give us the designations of those persons and the emoluments?
Thank you, Honorable Member, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under this category, we have medical technologists, we have medical laboratory technologists, and we have x-ray technicians. There's an increase of 13 persons, and those 13 persons include there's 13 medical laboratory technicians, and their salaries are $88,621.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
Line item 6221, drugs and medical supplies. I've noticed that there's the revised 2019 speaks to about $549.8 million, and there was an increase of $580.7 million. So actually, drugs were bought. So could you give us some examples of some of the drugs that were bought under this line item?
Honorable Minister.
Again, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. This here has to do with buying reagents and supplies for the blood bank. $180 million were spent on supplies for the blood bank. $276.6 million were spent for laboratory reagents and services, and we had $124 million were spent on issues relating to COVID.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, this is a good time to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 436, Standards and Technical Services, current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now forms part of the estimates. I turn to page 669, Capital Expenditure, and propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 436, Standards and Technical Services, forms part of the estimates. Member Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 436, Standards and Technical Services, forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, can we turn to page 432 and 342 and 343. And I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 437, Disability and Rehabilitation Services current expenditure forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Member, Dr. Karen Cummings.
Yes, Mr. Chair. I noticed that under this year program, we have some newly trained optometrists who are trained at University again, and they come under this this program. Could you tell us where are they employed, under contract employees or the technical and craft skill? Where would they be placed after that?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Honorable Member, we have uh, 5 persons who were employed for that category who were employed under 6112. And we also have some of these persons who newly came in are currently under temporary employment as we work to place them in the right category.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings.
6321, subsidies and contributions to local organizations. This column read comes under this line item. Subsidy uses the column read center.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Member. Indeed, Palmareed comes under this line item, and the organizations that we normally give subventions to include Palmareed Rehabilitation Center. They normally get about $15.3 million a year. The National Commission on Disability normally receives $17.7 million. iCare that gets $9.2 million. So these are generally the organizations that receive. We also give, under this heading, monies to the National Commission on Disability.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Dr. Cummings. Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I now put the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 437, Disability and Rehabilitation Services current expenditure forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum stated now forms part of the estimates. We can now turn to page 670, and I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 437, Disability and Rehabilitation Services capital expenditure forms part of the estimates. Honorable Member, Dr. Karen Cummings.
Line item 25, project code and title, Equipment Medical 250900, purchase of medical equipment. It's a rollover project, so could you give us more about the status of that
Honorable Minister.
and what exactly equipment entails?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The equipment that we have bought under this line item include a medical table, which cost $652,000. Mats for early stimulation, which cost, there are 12 of them, uh, that cost 8,436,000. And you have an upper limb tank, which costs 3,664,000.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, I now put the question that the sums stated for Agency 43, Ministry of Public Health, Program 437, Disability and Rehabilitation Services, capital expenditure now forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now stands part of the estimates. Honorable members, uh, I thought the birthday was being celebrated by the Honorable Member, Mr. Cole Kroll. Thank you. Can we continue on with the program 47, Ministry of Public Health? Honorable Minister, your team is here for this head. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, we are at page 350 and 351, Agency 47, Ministry of Health. Now we've made up some time, so I propose the question that the sum stated for Agency 47, Ministry of Health, Program 471, Policy Development and Administration, current expenditure, forms part of the estimates. The Honorable Dr. Karen comments.
Yes, Chair. With the rise in COVID-19 cases, the rise in deaths, I'm wondering under this line item 6221, drugs and medical supplies, if they are adequate PPE, if they are adequate um, drugs to, I mean, you spoke about hydroxy, different drugs that are being used in the fight against COVID. So does this number adequately address the concerns of this pandemic?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll get to where we're buying drugs for the pandemic, but unfortunately, under this particular heading, that's not what we're buying here. We're paying here for drugs, well, reagents really, for the Food and Drug Administration. So this is the head where we buy reagents for that agency. But later on, we'll come to the point where we're buying drugs.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member, Ms. Tabitha Sarabo Hadley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Um, I'm also seeking your guidance as to whether I'm right on this particular item. The program says Policy Development and Administration, and I am just inquiring as to the Minister of Health policy as it relates to the COVID-19 pandemic. What is the Minister of Health, the Ministry of Health, and the Government of Ghana's policy on the COVID-19 pandemic and how it is we should deal with that, given the large increase in deaths and persons who have gotten the virus?
Honorable Minister,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure which line item the honorable member is referring to, but I am very pleased to talk about the government's policy dealing with COVID-19. As you know, if we look at um, what we need to do in the health system, we need to do a couple of things. One, we have to get adequate PPEs for frontline health workers. That has been addressed because when we came into government, we had less than 1,000 N95 mask that is available. As we speak today, we have thousands of masks that is in the MMU. So one of our priorities has been to ensure that we were able to address the shortage of PPEs, which include masks, gowns, uh, things for your hair, shoe covers, and all of that. So that's one priority of the government. The second one was that to treat patients who come in to the hospitals, most of our facilities did not have the relevant equipment to be able to provide the quality of treatment that is necessary. This includes having ventilators, CPAP machines, BPAP machines, and so forth. And at the Georgetown Hospital, where we have our infectious disease ICU, we had less than 4 working ventilators. Those ventilators, of course, was not fit for purpose because those ventilators were ventilators bought to be used for the transportation of patients, and they don't work for more than 2 hours and they shut down. So they have a limited scope of time. They are not for continuous monitoring or helping, assisting patients with perfusion. So we have been able to, or we have started to remedy that situation. The Georgetown Hospital about 2 weeks ago received 5 new ventilators, and as of the 12th of October, we'll have another 21 ventilators that is coming into Ghana. Some would go to the Georgetown Hospital, the rest would be distributed regionally. We also have in the pipeline, through various projects that we're pursuing, we'll have maybe another 30 or 40 ventilators that would be coming in. And these two would bolster what we have in the region. So that's in terms of equipment. In terms of treatment, with getting medicines to the people who need critical care, what we have been able to do was to source the medicines that we know help patients, especially those who are hospitalized. So we have ensured that all our hospitals have adequate stocks of dexamethasone, which is one of the drugs that are used to treat patients. We have also, over the last 2 weeks, been able to access remdesivir, which is one of the antiretroviral drugs that is used in the treatment of COVID-19 patients. And all our critical patients now at the hospital can benefit from remdesivir. We have also brought in, and we have in stock, ivermectin, necessary, that is available for the doctors to use. All the other medicines that they need, it's available at the hospitals. In addition to that, we all know that we had challenges with testing because we did not have enough test kits in the country. We had less than maybe 1,000 to 1,500 kits before August, and so we have rectified that. We have now, over the last couple of weeks, we had bought in about 50,000 or so kits. We have 40,000 from PAHO. The Barbadian government gave to us 10,000 of those kits, so we now have close to 50,000 test kits. These have been distributed to the region, so if there's a test that is necessary to be done out there, it can be done. And, you know, we have been getting more samples coming in, and we are processing more at the National Reference Lab. At the reference lab, we are able to do our own testing. At times when we have a lot of cases backing up, we have worked out an arrangement with CARPA, so we are able to send samples to CARPA. We have now since worked out an arrangement with the United States so that we can send samples to the United States. We are in the process of working out an arrangement between Region 9 and Brazil so that our samples from Region 9 can go across to Brazil. So they don't have to come to town for us to work on that. So we have, in the interim, look at a number of other options how we can treat with backlog and processing time. In addition to that, we have already ordered and we are awaiting uh, extractor that can help us to process these samples faster. So right now it takes the National Public Health Reference Lab about 8 hours for us to process those samples. And with this extractor that we have bought, and we are awaiting delivery for it, it would require probably about 2 hours for us to do 96 samples. We have that extractor that we are expecting in shortly, and we are expecting a donation from the Chinese government, which should come in at the end of September, and you'll get another extract. So in terms of testing in the public health system, we are going to, by early October, be able to process more than 1,000 samples per day. And that's in the public sector. In the private sector, I had the pleasure of 2 days ago going to the Eureka Lab, and they have been able to process, they have bought all the equipment, and they would be able to process another 1,000 or so samples per day with the equipment that they have. So you have private sector effort in this as well. And I am aware that very shortly that Mercy Hospital is also going to have a PCR machine in place, and they would also be offering testing in the private sector. So Guyana's capacity would increase dramatically in the next couple of weeks. So testing capacity would no longer be a problem. In addition to that, we have already in the country from other programs, we have a machine called a Gene Expert machine. These Gene Expert machines can be repurposed to do COVID-19 testing. The challenge that we were having was sourcing the cassettes to be able to put that in and do the tests. But these machines are great because what happened, instead of waiting for 24 hours or 48 hours, you can get the test done within 15 to 45 minutes. So it's what you call a point of care machine. We have 5 of them. We are already serviced the 5 machines, and we are sourcing through PAHO. We are expecting within a week or so to get 1,052 tests to come into the country. And once we have those cassettes, as we call them, cartridges rather, once we have those cartridges, we'll be able to use those machines and deploy them to the region. So these are some of the measures that we are taking to ensure that the people of Guyana remain safe. But one of the things that we all have to do, we all have to do this, is that we all have to talk to people so that they wear masks, they keep social distancing, because these are our preventative measures. And we still have a lot of people who are not complying with those measures. So yes, we have done quite a number of things. We can get the health system ready, but at the end of the day, it is a societal problem. And we all have to confront this together. If we don't, then we will fail. And that's something that we all have to understand. So I'll just stop here.
Thank you. Before honorable member, I just want to ask a question. Did I hear you say ivermectin? Something. And you take 2 of those tablets.
They are also used, Mr. Chair, in the filaria program. So actually, a lot of people through the mass administration that was done for filaria elimination, a lot of people already would have taken some of those tablets. But this is one of the tablets that is recommended in the treatment protocol.
Well, why I asked honorable minister was I was told this was the treatment, and I thought I was special, so I had 2. One, not knowing this is the generally available treatment by the Ministry of Health. So thank you for me feeling so very special. Honorable Member Miss Dr. Cummings, sorry, Honorable Member Dr. Miss Tabitha Sarabuhan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the information. And the and all of what has been done thus far since we came into government. My question, follow-up question though, is based on what you said in probably the last 2 minutes, which is that prevention is better than cure. And most of what I heard from you is dealing with the cure and not the prevention aspect. So I am still a bit weary because what is the policy in terms of ensuring persons don't get the virus in the first place? Because once they get it, once there's an underlying symptom, there's very little that you can possibly do at that point. So I think the efforts should be spent more on prevention than on the cure, and I heard mostly on the cure than the prevention aspect. So if you can give us some clarity on that part.
Honorable Minister,
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And indeed, we have to spend more effort on prevention, and we have been doing that. So we have had a number of education programs on television, on radio. We have been working with different stakeholders to get this message out. We have the order that is in place that talks about the curfew. However, as you all know, when we leave here, we still see a lot of people who are breaching these orders. So we have to get a lot more enforcement. We have had meetings with the law enforcement agency, talking to them about enforcing this. And, I don't think a lot of people realize that if you don't wear your mask in public, it is an offense and you can be prosecuted. And if you go to court, you can pay a fine or you can end up with more serious consequences. So we need to do more law enforcement. We have been working with various stakeholders and partners to try to spread that message. And I think one of the things that would help us tremendously is if we have some coming together between political parties and so forth, so that that message can be a unified message going out to everybody. Because everybody's life here is at stake. And that is why we need to say that over and over and over and repeat that, because it's important. So we have a plan, we have a risk communication plan. We have also been working with, and we have repurposed some of the money from John Hopkins, the grant that we have there with Breakthrough Action, malaria. The USAID has allowed us to repurpose some of that money to be able to do more risk communication, and we've been using some of that resource to do that. We have recently, up this morning actually, we have been able to get from the Global Fund an approval to reprogram 395,000 US dollars, some of which would be going into the preventative action. And we are working with other stakeholders and partners so that we can spread more of this message out. A notable thing is that the private sector, on their own volition, they have been asking us for the technical advice, but they have been putting up billboards so that people can see the message, wear masks, and so forth. We have talked to a number of businesses who got programs on radio and television to be able to sponsor some of the ads that we have so that we can keep these things going so that people can understand the messaging. And we have done with UNICEF 3 knowledge, attitude, and practice studies so that people's behavior, how people behave, what are the nuances, and we are tailoring our risk communication messages to be able to target some of the recommendations coming out from those creating studies. So we've been working at it, and we'll continue doing that. And we welcome people joining into the effort, because I think the more people we have repeating these messages, it's better for all of us.
thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Member Dr. Cummings.
Thank you very much. It's music to my ears to hear the Honorable Minister speaks about unifying. I'm not saying it's coming a little too late, but I mean better late than never. So I'm happy. I think definitely working together, as I said, as a team, we will achieve more. You spoke about, when we talk about COVID, we talk about the three T's. So you spoke about testing. I'm assuming also the PCR test you're using. You spoke about treatment. What about tracking, the surveillance aspect? How are we going with that? Where are the hotspots? We talk about the traffic light, the pockets, where it's red, where it's green, where it's yellow, where we need to address specifically. So that's one question. Um, Second question is you talk about prevention and the primary healthcare system. Um, that's a very important aspect of our of prevention. The primary health care, the health posts, the health centers. Some of them I want to subscribe that they may need to repurpose, the SMART initiative to accommodate pregnant mothers and family health services. So going forward, some of these health centers where they be retrofitted and using the smart hospital initiative and so forth. How would we address those primary health care facilities where that's the first line people are coming there first? So that's one, and in terms of the tracking.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, the Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Member, for the question. Indeed, we have been doing active surveillance. Uh, and every morning, actually, we have the team getting together. These are all the RHOs, plus the surveillance officers. And we go through, over the last 24 hours, what has happened with cases, where they are, and everything else. So we have geolocation, and we are able to track that. Based on the information that we accumulate over the last 24 hours, then the medical teams are deployed accordingly. Our surveillance officers are also engaged so that we can track people who are at home in self-isolation and we monitor their symptoms. We have a team of 30-something people who is here centrally, and in every region there are teams of people who does the surveillance. So people are called, they're tracked, they're monitored, and this is an ongoing process. We also have persons who are in self-quarantine because they would have been exposed to someone who was positive. Those persons are also tracked, similar to the persons who are in isolation. Whether they're developing any signs or symptoms, while in the case of the persons in isolation, because they've tested positive, we're monitoring to see whether or not they have a deterioration in their condition that warrants us to bring them in to one of the hospitals. So this has been an ongoing process, and every region would have surveillance officers that are dedicated to doing this. In addition, there is that hotline, and we are also making some changes. We have spoken to GP&P, for example, so no longer would the doctor got to be permanently at the hotline center, but once a call comes in, that can be routed to doctors who are on call so that they can take the call and provide medical advice. So this is an ongoing thing that we are doing, and we'll at some point also have to look at other methodologies. And we have been talking to a number of companies because there are other applications that are available that can help us to do monitoring. So that's something that is actively being explored at this point in time. In terms of cases, we know one of the things that sometimes we have to look at. As of today, for example, we have 2,709 cases overall. But of that number, 1,881 persons have recovered. So we have a recovery rate of close to 70%. The persons who have died, and it's regrettable that people are dying from the disease, we've had 74 deaths. But this represents about 2.7% of the overall people who were infected, right? So we are working, and again, the appeal is for us to get more of this message out there, right? In terms of the question on primary health care, one of the challenges that we had, and I think in March when the first case appeared, most of the health centers across the country were either scared about how to deal with COVID-19 patients, and many of the personnel who were there, for various reasons, did not provide full service to people. And that has compounded a problem. Because if somebody who got a chronic non-communicable disease like diabetes or hypertension come to one of the primary care facility and can get help, then it put them even more at risk because they wouldn't have had medications and things like that, and that's a problem. So we are working with all our primary care facilities to make sure that they're reopened if they were not working effectively, to make sure that the things that are in place, like to sanitize your hands, to keep the social distancing, and so forth. So we are putting those measures in place, but we have to continue service. And that's one of our priorities. So all the RHOs have been told this we have to keep the services going, especially for chronic non-communicable disease patients. So you will see more of this happening, and we'll be working to keep these services going. We have another challenge, and the challenge that we have at the Georgetown Hospital, for example, because that's where a lot of our critical cases go. One of the challenges is that since March, many of the planned surgeries were not happening. And again, what we have to do while we battle with COVID, we also have to reopen some of these services to ensure that people can have access to these services. So that's something we're still trying to figure out how we can do both. But as of now, if somebody got emergency surgery and they come into the hospital, obviously they're going to get that emergency surgery. But we feel that we can do more, and we have to figure out how we can do more. So this is an ongoing process, and we've been working at it. And again, I want to say that the medical staff has been, at this since March. They've been working very hard, and I want to commend them because they have done a fantastic job so far.
So, Chair, I don't want to belabor the point, but
Thank
in
you,
terms of
Honorable Dr. Cummings.
thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Yeah, we're focusing also on decentralization. So in terms of the surgeries, why not try to beef up what do you call it, Amsterdam Hospital, Lethem Hospital, and these others, so at least the amount of persons coming there will be at least less, because that's really a tertiary referral hospital. So if we can probably beef up those in the major towns and so on, study and so on, I guess it will assist.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And I take the point that the honorable member is making. So, for example, at Lethem Hospital, we have recently, because the light for the surgical theater was not working, we have recently repaired that. And we have a surgeon that is in Lethem so that surgeries now can happen in Lethem. They were short of a diathermy machine. We bought that for $1 million so they can do surgeries in Lethem. So we are building the capacity in these regional hospitals to ensure exactly that we can have more of these services decentralized. We have looked at West Dem. We had a team from Georgetown Hospital that went across to West Dem to see whether or not we can decant some of the surgeons over to West Dem so that we can perform more surgeries at West Dem. So that would be a plan that you would see coming maybe in another week or two, that we will be doing some more surgeries at West Dem. At the same time, while we are doing all of this, Diamond Hospital was closed because we are now retrofitting that hospital so that it becomes a smart hospital. But even while that hospital is undergoing retrofitting, sections of the hospital is still working, right? So we're trying to do the work, but still maintain some of the services. And we're hoping that we can get this through so that we can put back that hospital into operation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Honorable Member, Ms. Tabitha Sarabu.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not trying to belabor the point, but I think it's important to be ventilated. The Honorable Minister said there were over 1,800 recoveries. And what I see happening is persons seeing these numbers and saying, well, if they get it, then they should be okay. Has there been any consideration into going to those persons who may have recovered to see what may have been the long-term effects of getting the virus and putting that out there so people understand that yes, you may recover, but you don't recover at 100%, and that may sort of, assist and deter them from thinking that it's okay.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that question because that's a very important area. What is emerging right now is that you have, for persons who would have recovered, they are now seeing that you have what is called a long recovery, and that is now coming up in the scientific literature. So 2 months, 3 months after you have, um, gotten rid of the virus, people are seeing other types of illnesses that are emerging. The latest one, maybe about a week ago, that emerged is that they're seeing cases where persons who had COVID 3 months after now have myocarditis, which means that the muscle of the heart is being infected or there's some inflammation there, and they're attributing that to um, to the virus, to the past infection. And they're also seeing that with many of the other organs in the body. So it is an important question, and that is something that we definitely have to put a mechanism in place to be able to monitor that. In addition to this, because one of the other things that we have started here is to use convalescent plasma, meaning that the persons who have recovered in their blood, they would have had the antibodies that can help somebody who's really ill fight off this virus. And so we have been encouraging people who have recovered to come forward and make the donation at the blood bank so that we can get the convalescent plasma and use it on patients who are sicker. So in those two ways, one is to monitor the long-term effect, but the more medium-term or immediate is to be able to get the convalescent plasma to help other people. And I must say, the persons who have been asked so far have been responding. We're getting a good amount of convalescent plasma at the hospital.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this is a good time for me to put the question that the sum stated for Agency 47, Ministry of Health, Program 471, Policy Development and Administration forms part of the estimates. Those in favor say aye. Those against say no. The ayes have it. The sum now forms part of the estimates. Honorable members, we will have to bring the Honorable Minister and his team back after the lunch break. Let the Assembly resume. Thank you. The Assembly has resumed. Before we suspend, let me just bring to the attention of the staff. This morning we were waiting for a quorum to start at 9:30, but I think we failed to take into account that we had several of our honorable members who were online and present. They included Minister Teixeira, the Honorable Member Mr. Datadin, the Honorable Member Madam Kathy Hughes, the Honorable Deputy Leader. So, Honorable Members, we want to apologize to you who were online this morning, but I think we failed to take into consideration you were present so that we don't lose you after the the luncheon session, we'll keep our eyes on those who are present virtually. Honorable members, this is a good time to take the suspension.